As usual, we're going to be taking our 20 gauge and we're just going to be giving ourselves a nice long strip. Okay, so you're going to take your jig with your 2 parallel wires and you're just going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning until you give yourself a nice long coil. And if you give yourself a little bit too much, it's fine. You can always cut off, save that little bit for later and add it onto a pendant or something. Useful scraps. If you don't go long enough, then you're not going to be able to make your ring tight enough, or you're going to have to try to cheat it, which is fine. Sometimes that'll even give you a desired look where you might be able to spread out your coils a little bit to give it some air, and let it breathe a bit. But whenever you do that, getting it consistent all the way throughout starts to be a little bit of a challenge. So right here, we're actually just going to finish up so we have ourselves a nice useful scrap for something that we make later on in the week. You take it off. Take it off the jig so it's nice and loose. You can bend and wiggle it. Stop! Oh, and wiggle with it, yeah! Stop! Oh, and wiggle with it, yeah! Something like that. Alrighty. We're going to go back to our 20 gauge. We're going to go back to our 20 gauge copper wire, and we're going to use this as our fill. This section of coil, we're going to take our 20 gauge wire and we're going to feed through. Now, 2 20 gauge wires should fit through a 16 gauge coil. Sometimes you can get both of them to just slip on through and they will be fine. We're using a 20 gauge and 26 gauge wire coiled around a 16 gauge jig. Now, 2 20 gauge wires will fit through a 16 gauge coil. However, it can be a little bit of a tight fit, so I would suggest feeding them through one at a time. Get our first one through. And if you're having problems getting them through, don't push, twist. If you push, it's going to be more likely to kink and give you a bend in either your wires or your coils. It will rotate through down on, and you'll be able to get both ends through relatively easy without kinking your wire, bending your wire, or anything, or just frustrating yourself. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier just to twist through. Get your ends matching length. You want to have your ends the same length on both ends. You want to have it get put in the middle. Next, you're going to take your dowel. You're going to take your wires and you're going to wrap around. Okay, so we made ourselves a nice round ring with equidistant runoff wires that we're going to be able to come back in and make ourselves a girdle for our stone to sit in. All right, so that's where we're at. All right, but the stone that we're wrapping is going to be this little piece of amethyst. Got a nice crystal face there. And that's the one we're going to be showing. Make sure that you're doing a lot more pushing. You're doing a lot more pushing than pulling. You definitely want to push things more than you pull them. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to leave your finger on as a brace to hold your curves and angles in place. And then make sure to push. And if you're going to pull, try to give a back pushing pressure regardless. Some tricks on how to get nice tight spirals. You can use your jig to put it in place so that whenever you have a jig in place, you're pressing your wire in place while giving it a back push and pull. You will give yourself nice tracer wires with a curve. Nice tracer wires with a curve that will want to sit stacked on top of each other. You want to come say hello? Hello! She's the sweetest cat. Do, 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 do. Okay. So again, what you're going to do is whenever you are making this and you don't have enough room to do a twist, you're going to give it a push in and down with a push in and through. And it will give you this kind of like torque motion that will create a loop for you in the process. You want to give it a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a twist while you push to guide it. You're going to give us that little push through, and that's going to give you the spiral where you didn't have room before. If you want to take a set of pliers next, put them through both of the loops at the same time to make sure that they twist with each other. And then give it a bend back on itself. There it is. To land in the spot where you want it to sit. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. So we took that, wrapped it around, and we're going to be able to use that as a setting. We pulled it around the side, and then we tied it off down at the bottom to end our wire. Slash to give it a little bit of a design buffer between the band and the head. A size 6.5 copper amethyst ring. Thank you. Rara!